Your younger cousin is getting married first. Uncle Dennis laughed, pointing his bourbon at me like an accusation. 27 and still single. What's wrong with you, Veronica? I smiled, reached into my laptop bag, and pulled out an envelope I'd carried for 6 years like a secret weapon. I got married at 19. Divorced at 21. Learned more about love in those 2 years than you have in 30. Mom's wine glass stopped moving. When were you married? She whispered. My name is Veronica Torres, and if you think this is a story about failure or regret, you're already missing the point. This is about the marriage that saved my life by ending, the family who never knew it happened, and the kind of love they'll never understand because it doesn't fit in their perfect little boxes. The private dining room at Rosario's went silent except for the mariachi music, bleeding through from the main restaurant. My cousin Isabella's engagement party, 22 years old, marrying her high school boyfriend, the whole family acting like she'd won the lottery of life. Meanwhile, I sat at the singles end of the table, fielding questions about my commitment issues and impossible standards. Married? Aunt Rosa's voice pitched high enough to shatter crystal. To whom? When? Where? I pulled out the papers, marriage certificate, divorce decree, the whole documented truth. James Morrison, Vegas, January 15th, 2017. Divorced March 8th, 2019. 26 months that taught me more about myself than the previous 19 years combined. Dad's face went through 17 shades of betrayal. You got married without telling us? I got married without asking permission, I corrected. There's a difference. In Vegas? Mom's horror was palpable. Like some drunk mistake? Stone cold sober. Planned for 3 months. Saved every penny from my campus job for the trip. It was the most deliberate thing I'd ever done. Isabella, the blushing bride-to-be, looked like I'd just hijacked her engagement party. Which, to be fair, I had. But after 2 hours of poor Veronica, always the bridesmaid comments, I was done being their cautionary tale about women who wait too long. This is insane, my brother Diego said, grabbing the marriage certificate. This is real. This is legally real. You were married to some guy named James? Not some guy. The love of my life at 19. My biggest mistake at 20. My most important teacher at 21. Teacher? Uncle Dennis scoffed. What did he teach you? How to fail at marriage. He taught me that love isn't enough when two people are growing in opposite directions. That sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit something isn't working. That divorce isn't failure. Staying in the wrong marriage is. That's ridiculous, Aunt Rosa declared. Marriage is forever. Look at Isabella and Brandon. Isabella and Brandon have been together since they were 15, I interrupted. They've never lived apart, never traveled alone, never had to figure out who they are without each other. They're getting married because it's the next step, not because they chose each other from a place of complete self-knowledge. Isabella's face flushed red. Just because you failed, I didn't fail. I succeeded at recognizing a mistake and fixing it before it destroyed both of us. How many people at this table wish they'd been that brave? The silence was deafening, because everyone knew I was looking at Aunt Rosa, married 35 years to an alcoholic. At Uncle Dennis, who'd cheated so many times it was family legend. At my own parents, who slept in separate bedrooms but stayed together for the family. Why didn't you tell us? Mom's voice cracked. Your own parents? Because you would have stopped me. And I needed to make this mistake. I needed to learn that love at 19 isn't love at 21. That the person you think will save you can't, because the only person who can save you is yourself. I pulled out my phone, scrolling to hidden photos I hadn't looked at in years. Here, our wedding day. 2 kids in a Vegas chapel with an Elvis impersonator officiating. We thought we were so rebellious, so romantic. We were just young. Mom grabbed the phone, studying the girl in the photos. Me, but not me. Radiating desperate hope, clinging to a boy who looked equally lost. You look... She paused, searching for words. Scared? Yeah, I was terrified. But I thought marriage would fix that. Would fix me. Would make me into someone worth loving. That's exactly what every woman in this family thinks, I said, gesturing around the table. That marriage validates us. That we're not complete until someone chooses us. Isabella's getting the same message as I did. Hurry up, lock it down, don't end up alone like poor cousin Veronica. That's not what Isabella started, isn't it? Your engagement announcement said, Isabella finally gets her happily ever after. Finally. At 22. Like you were running out of time. This is supposed to be her night. Brandon, the fiancé, finally spoke up. Not your therapy session. You're right, I said, turning to him. Let's talk about you two. How many places have you lived together? 0. How many major challenges have you faced? None. How many versions of yourselves have you been? 1 each, high school sweethearts. You're marrying your first draft of adult life without editing. At least we're getting married, Isabella shot back. Not hiding divorces like shameful secrets. I'm not ashamed. I'm proud. It took more courage to leave than you'll need to walk down that aisle. Dad slammed his hand on the table. Enough! You got divorced, so what? Why bring it up now? Because I'm tired of being the family failure for being unmarried at 27. Because every single family gathering becomes an interrogation about my love life, my standards, my biological clock. Because none of you know that I've already done the thing you're all pushing me toward, and it nearly destroyed me. Nearly destroyed you? Mom whispered. Did he hurt you? No, God, no. James was 20. He was lost too. We were 2 drowning people trying to save each other, not realizing we were pulling each other under. I took a breath, deeper truth surfacing. We met in Philosophy 101. He quoted Sartre. I thought that made him deep. We stayed up all night discussing existence and meaning, confusing intensity for intimacy. We got engaged after 6 months because we thought no one else could possibly understand us like we understood each other. The room was captivated now. The telenovela of my secret past more interesting than Isabella's predictable engagement. We moved to Portland because we thought geography could fix us. Got minimum wage jobs, a studio apartment with rats, and fought about money constantly. He wanted to be a writer but never wrote. I wanted to be an artist but never painted. We were so busy being married, we forgot to become people. So you quit? Uncle Dennis's judgment was sharp. So I grew up. One morning, I woke up and realized I didn't recognize myself. I was playing wife to someone playing husband, and neither of us knew our actual roles in life yet. We were in love with the idea of being married rebels, not with each other. That's when you divorced? Mom asked. That's when we separated. The divorce took 6 more months of realizing we were better as a memory than a marriage. He's married now, really married, not playing house. Has 2 kids, lives in Michigan. Teaches high school English. We exchange Christmas cards? Christmas cards? Diego looked disgusted. With your ex-husband? With someone who taught me that first love doesn't have to be last love. That practice marriages aren't failures if you learn from them. That sometimes the best thing you can do for someone you love is leave. Practice marriage, Aunt Rosa spat the words. Marriage isn't practice. It's sacred, is it? I looked at her directly. Is staying with someone who stumbles home drunk sacred? Is pretending to be happy more important than actually being happy? Is teaching your daughters that suffering is noble somehow better than teaching them that leaving is brave? She stood up furious. How dare you? How dare I what? Tell the truth? Point out that half the marriages at this table are endurance tests, not love stories. We don't quit, she said. That's what separates us from people like me, who recognize mistakes and fix them, who choose happiness over appearances, who learn from failed attempts instead of living in them forever. Isabella started crying. You're ruining everything. This is my engagement party. No, this is your warning, I said, not unkindly. You're 22. Brandon's 23. Do you know who you are yet? Without each other? Have you lived alone, traveled solo, made massive mistakes that were yours alone to fix? We know we love each other. I love James. Love isn't enough. It's not even close to enough. Then what is? Brandon challenged. Knowing yourself completely before you promise yourself to someone else. Understanding that you're a whole person, not half of something waiting to be completed. Being together because you choose to be, not because you're afraid to be alone. Mom was staring at the divorce papers. 2 years. You were married for 2 entire years without telling us. The best and worst 2 years of my life. Best because I learned who I was by learning who I wasn't. Worst because I hurt someone I cared about by making him part of my journey to self-discovery. This is why you never date, Diego said. Like he'd solved a puzzle. You're damaged from the divorce. I date all the time. I just don't perform it for family approval. I've had 3 relationships since James. One lasted 6 months, one lasted a year. One ended 2 months ago after 18 beautiful months. 18 months? Mom gasped. Why didn't we meet him? Because you would have asked about marriage on the first meeting. Because everything would have become about locking it down, making it official, getting that ring. Because you can't conceive of a successful relationship that doesn't end in marriage. That's literally what relationships are for. No, relationships are for growth, connection, joy, learning. Sometimes they're for a season, sometimes they're for a lifetime. But forcing lifetime promises on seasonal connections is how you end up like, I gestured around the table at marriages held together by obligation, children, shared mortgages, and the inability to imagine starting over. Like us? Dad's voice was dangerous. Like people who think staying together is more important than being happy. Who measure relationship success by duration, not quality. Who push their children into marriages at 22 because God forbid they turn out like poor unmarried Veronica. You seem pretty bitter for someone so enlightened. Isabella sniffed through her tears. I'm not bitter. I'm free. Free from the narrative that my worth is determined by my relationship status. Free from rushing into marriage to meet some arbitrary timeline. Free from staying in relationships that no longer serve me just to avoid judgment. I stood up, gathering my papers. Where are you going? Mom asked. Home. To my apartment that I pay for alone. To my queen bed that I don't have to share unless I want to. To my life that's complete without a ring on my finger or someone else's last name. Veronica, sit down. Isabella, I said, ignoring Mom. You want some real advice? Live together first. Travel somewhere difficult. Get food poisoning in a foreign country and see how he handles it. Fight about something that matters. See each other at your absolute worst. Then decide if that's someone you want to legally bind yourself to. We don't believe in living together before making a legal commitment that costs thousands to undo. That makes sense? I looked around the table one more time. You all think divorce is failure. I think divorce saved my life. It taught me that endings aren't failures, they're completions. That growing apart isn't betrayal, it's natural. That choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. You'll end up alone, Aunt Rosa said. The ultimate family curse. I'd rather be alone than be like you, married to someone who makes you smaller every day. I'd rather have my divorce than your marriage. I'd rather have my freedom than Isabella's premature cage. It's not a cage, Isabella protested. Then why are you crying? If this is what you want, truly want, my words shouldn't hurt. But they do, don't they? Because somewhere deep down you know I'm right. You're not getting married because you're ready. You're getting married because you're 22 and the family expects it, and what if nobody else asks? Brandon stood up, protective. We're leaving. Good idea, I said. Go home. Talk honestly about what you each want from life. Not from each other, from life. See if those visions align or if you're just hoping they will. As they gathered their things, I turned to Mom one last time. James and I had our reception at a Denny's. 2 a.m, still in our wedding clothes, eating pancakes and planning a future that would never happen. We were happy in that moment. Genuinely, purely happy. But happiness at 19 isn't happiness at 27. Growth changes you? It's supposed to, so you regret it? She asked quietly. I regret that we hurt each other. I regret that we didn't know ourselves well enough to know better. But I don't regret the lesson. Some of us need to fail at marriage to succeed at life. I headed for the door, then turned back one more time. By the way, I'm seeing someone. 3 months now. His name's Adrian. He's divorced too. Married at 23, divorced at 28. Has a daughter he co-parents beautifully. We talk about our failed marriages on long walks. We compare notes on what went wrong. We're taking it slow because we both know what rushing costs. And if we never get married, that's fine. We'll be happy without the paperwork. 3 months? Mom's voice was small. Why didn't you? Because the first thing you'd ask is when we're getting engaged. Because you can't see relationships as anything other than auditions for marriage. Because I wanted to enjoy falling in love, without a timeline or a checklist or a family, breathing down my neck about rings and dates and venues. The last thing I heard as I left was Isabella sobbing and Mom saying, "Don't listen to her. She's just bitter about her divorce." But I wasn't bitter. I was grateful. Grateful for James, who loved me badly but genuinely. Grateful for Vegas and that Elvis who pronounced us husband and wife with a hip swivel. Grateful for the fights about dishes and rent and whose turn it was to call the landlord about the rats. Grateful for the morning I woke up and realized I'd rather be alone than be someone I wasn't. Most of all, grateful for the divorce papers that set us both free to become who we were supposed to be. My phone buzzed as I reached my car. A text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Brandon. You're right. We're not ready. Thank you for being the only honest person at that table. Then another. This is Isabella. I hate you right now, but call me tomorrow. And finally, from Mom. When can I meet Adrian? When you can meet him without planning our wedding, I texted back. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, I was married before your father. 6 months. To someone else. We never told anyone. Not even you kids. I sat in my car staring at that text. My mother, keeper of traditional values, guardian of family reputation, a divorcee in secret. Why didn't you tell me? I typed. Same reason you didn't tell me. Some lessons you have to learn alone. The irony was perfect. All these years of being pushed toward marriage by a woman who knew firsthand that first attempts sometimes fail. All this judgment from someone who'd hidden the same secret. Does Dad know? I asked. He was married before too. 8 months. Her name was Patricia. I laughed. Alone in my car, divorce papers on the passenger seat. My parents, the perfect couple everyone aspired to be, were both on their second marriages. The foundation of family expectations built on the very failure they'd taught us to fear. Why tell me now? I texted, because you were brave enough to go first? Because Isabella needs to hear it. Because maybe it's time we stopped pretending perfection is possible. On the first try, I drove home to my apartment, my sanctuary of self-determination, and found Adrian waiting on my doorstep with takeout and wine. How'd the engagement party go? He asked. I told them about James. Damn, big guns. How'd they take it? About as well as your family took hearing about Miranda. We both laughed. 2 divorced people who'd learned that endings aren't failures and beginnings don't require rings. Who knew that love after loss is different? Deeper but lighter, serious but not desperate. Think we'll ever get married? He asked. Not a proposal, just curiosity. Maybe, maybe not. Either way, we'll be okay. And we were. Are. Will be. Because once you've been divorced, you know the secret. Marriage doesn't save you, and divorce doesn't destroy you. They're just experiences that teach you who you are. And I knew exactly who I was. Veronica Torres, divorced at 21, happy at 27, and finally, completely, unapologetically myself.